What's up guys, Phil Vallejo here. Welcome back to another episode of the Tikka build project, part 4. If you guys are tuning into this project for the first time, I'm creating a video series on a budget build type system for shooters that are just getting into long range shooting or looking for something to get in long range. I've done 3 episodes so far, so go ahead and check those out, either before you guys get in this video to see kind of how I've shot it, how it groups, what its capability is in the factory settings. But in this video, I'm pretty much gonna go over the next step of what I would do with this rifle, which is drop it into an aftermarket chassis system. But if you guys are already watched 3 and you're coming back, welcome back. Sorry for the delay. It's just been crazy, and I'm excited to get this information out to you guys. Before I get into the next step of what I did with the Tikka, I do want to talk about the factory stock and some of its capabilities and limitations. So out of the box, this is the factory stock that the Tikka comes in, and honestly, not bad for a shooter that is just getting into long range, such as an enthusiast or maybe even a hunter. The stock's plastic. You've got some of the features are you've got a small little cheek riser here to help with your cheek or jaw weld and to help with eye relief based off how high your scope is. And you've got 2 sling studs on the bottom here, in the front and the back of the stock. I use a set of Harris bipods to attach to the front, but if you want to attach slings, that's okay too. And then this rifle also comes with a 10-round magazine provided in the box. So I don't have the magazine right now. Actually, one of my students snaked it from me on accident because I let him borrow it for one of the classes that we just had. So my overall thoughts for this stock, it's not a bad entry-level stock for those that are just getting into long-range shooting. It's a good platform for someone to learn, or even it's not a bad platform for someone to want to take hunting, or someone that's getting into long-range hunting. I definitely think if you're going to more of the competition or the tactical route, it has a lot of limitations in terms of one thing that I noticed when I was shooting this off barricades in let's say like a competition setting, the forend was super short from where the mag starts to where the bipods. It was hard to get a small enough bag in there to shoot off of a barricade type. And then, the limitations it does have for modularity, such as installing a Picatinny rail or even an Arca rail up front to be able to shoot off modern tripods nowadays. So those are some of the features I feel like it's lacking. But overall, I think, again, for someone that's just getting a long range, if you wanted to buy a entry-level rifle to just get into long range that, it's something that you can grow with, I'd put probably 500 rounds to 1,000 rounds while you save up some money before moving on to the next stock or chassis configuration of your choosing. So before I get into the next step, I want to talk about the 2 action screws that is holding the barrel to action. So you've got 2 action screws here on the bottom. You got a front and a rear action screw. This front action screw is always going to be the shortest one, and the rear action screw is going to be your longest one. And I believe they're T25s. So all you have to do is unscrew those out, and the barrel action comes out of the stock itself. Right. So moving on to the KRG X-Ray, but before I actually move on to the KRG X-Ray, I'm going to talk about why I went with the X-Ray instead of the Bravo, because I know that's the question that I'm going to get. Okay, so this is the KRG Bravo, and this is actually Kalen's stock. I just wanted to show you real quick the KRG Bravo for those that haven't seen the KRG Bravo. KRG Bravo is probably one of the, I would say, the most popular entry-level stock right now in the long-range shooting. I think KRG did a really great job, especially with the price point of this stock for entry-level shooters. This is not a review of the Bravo. This is just a real quick, hey, why I chose the Bravo over the X-Ray, because I can already see the question happening. So I think the KRG Bravo is $349 off their site. The bipods are not including. These are a set of Magpul bipods, but the stock just comes as is, as you're looking at it. So the big main reason, so if you guys can see both the Bravo and the X-Ray here, main reason I went with the X-Ray over the Bravo, for those that have followed me on Instagram, you know I'm a big KRG Whiskey 3 fan, and the Whiskey 3 is their top of the line chassis system. The X-Ray and the Whiskey 3 have the very similar ergonomics in terms of this grip area here, with kind of like an AR style grip, but not really AR style grip. I feel like it's its own grip in itself, but this little thumb hole I really like for positive engagement and positive control of that rifle, especially when I'm moving in and out of barricades or whatnot. So that's really the biggest reason why I made the extra $100 jump from getting the Bravo to the X-Ray. But for the most part, the fore end up until the Spigot is pretty much the same on both the KRG Bravo and KRG X-Ray. So now that that's already clear, big reason why I like the KRG line, so with that Bravo there and this X-Ray, all of the accessories that KRG offers for all of their chassis are pretty much interchangeable. So what does that mean? I believe that there's maybe a couple accessories for the Whiskey 3 that you cannot use on the Bravo or X-Ray. I could be wrong, but all the accessories that you find on their site, so as you decide whatever route you're going into long range shooting, or whatever needs that you might have for long range shooting, you could piece together the X-Ray, and then let's say 3 or 4 years from now you decide to upgrade to their Whiskey 3, you can take all those accessories and from your X-Ray and bolt them onto the Whiskey 3 without any issues. I think I said on vlog 1 that my process for upgrading this rifle is going to be a lot more expedient than the average shooter. But keep in mind, you don't have to, depending on your budget, depending on how much income you have, you don't have to get all these accessories that I point out next all at once. So let's move on to the KRG X-Ray system. I personally like the vlog style, because like me standing up in front of the camera, I've like tried this, and usually I need a lot of takes. Anyways, so this is KRG's new Generation 4 X-Ray. One of the biggest upgrades from the previous generation is the adjustable butt pad here, so that you can take this just like the Whiskey 3 that I have. You can take this butt pad, and I tighten it all the way, and you can adjust this, right, based off of your shooting style or your ergonomics. I know there's a lot of shooters, and I know Kalen, my partner, he likes to adjust this butt pad, and we've gotten several videos on adjusting this butt pad specifically for you. I personally don't do it, I just leave it the way it is. But one thing I do like this feature, and one thing that I was just doing, was cleaning this rifle before this video. Right now I don't have any intentions of making a cleaning video, not because I'm being an asshole, but because there's a lot of great videos already on YouTube, and Kalen Wojcik does a great video on that's free on the modern day sniper schoolhouse online training. Again guys, that's free, and him and our cleaning style is damn near identical. So check that out. But going back to this feature here for cleaning, what I was doing earlier, in order to get this rod through there, all I had to do was take this, rotate it out of the way, take the cheek piece right off, slide that here, and now I can stick a cleaning rod without any issues, okay, to the rifle. So that's a pretty neat feature without needing a folder. What I did was add 2 spacers to accommodate for my length of pull. My length of pull is roughly about 13.75 to 14 inches. Again, if you're new to long range shooting, the length of pull is defined as the distance between the buttstock to the actual trigger. Okay, so that ruler length there is about 13.5 inches based off of this configuration. So moving on to the cheek piece, I've got an overmolded cheek piece. This came from running the Whiskey 3 for 2.5, 3 years now, and the overmolded cheek piece feels a lot better than the factory cheek piece that it comes with. I highly recommend it. So it's an extra like 15 bucks, but it's soft and mushy for your face, especially if you've got a soft face like I do, little baby skin. I've got just the normal grip panels that it comes with. I'm sure the question is gonna get asked, so I'm just gonna throw this out there already. It's like, okay, Phil, why do you like the Whiskey 3 over some of the other chassis products out there? I'm a big stock guy. I grew up in my long range shooting foundation, grew up on a stock. You know, for those that don't know my background, I'm a former Marine Corps Scout Sniper. And when I came in, we shot off of the M40A3 series sniper rifles, and that's where my foundation of long range shooting started. So if you look at the ergonomics of a stock or your touch points of a stock, it's typically all in the back here, meaning your shoulder connection, your support hand connection, and then your shooting hand connection, and then your face. So those are all the touch points that your body has in terms of how it's contacting that rifle. And the KRG Whiskey 3 to me feels like a stock in the back, but I have the modularity I would need from a chassis system up front. I would say the biggest selling point for me for the Whiskey 3 over all the other chassis systems is their grip area, right? That allows me to get what I call a 90 degrees of trigger control. I also like this for my bolt sweeping technique. Right, using my thumb as a leverage point to sweep the bolt, okay? And again, when I come back on the trigger, it just feels natural for me to achieve a 90-degree trigger press. So I dive into all that on my Instagram. I'm not trying to plug it, but if you're new to my page, go ahead and follow my Instagram. I've got a lot of videos and tutorials on there on basic, fundamentals of marksmanship and whatnot. But that's pretty much why I went with the KRG series over all the other chassis options out there. Okay, and I've tried a lot. I'm a long range instructor. I see a various amounts of platforms. I get behind a ton of students' rifles, and the KRG products feel like home to me. Not only that, they have a badass team behind them. They're all SF dudes and all that stuff. So one thing I forgot to talk about in the back is the small little bag rider they have. I prefer the small bag rider over the angled bag rider. That's just my preference. That allows me to get a nice good butt hook here, very similar to the M40A3 that we had in the Marine Corps, that I shot off in the Marine Corps. And then moving up to the front, what I did with the KRG X-Ray was added an Arca rail system, okay, and the minimalist spigot mount. I still have a set of Harris bipods, okay, but I added the minimalist spigot mount here with the Picatinny rail. And the reason why I went with the spigot mount, I love the fact of being able to bring that bipod forward of the stock, and that allows me to get a little bit more distance to be able to put a bag here for barricades and bring the bipod closer to the ground. Okay, so if I had this here, right, notice how much higher it is than if it was off on this. Okay, so that's why I went with the spigot. In the case I need to throw this rifle on a barricade, I have a lot more room to play with in terms of finding out where that rifle needs to balance on the barricade. Why I went with the Arca? So what I'm doing is I'm future-proofing the rifle based off of my needs for long-range shooting. And I'm very heavily vested into the Arca system. All my tripods have Arca heads in them, and now a lot of my bipods also have the Arca mount to attach your bipods as well. That's pretty much some of the configuration and the aftermarket accessories that I put onto the KRG X-Ray from its original factory setting. Just so you guys have a visual reference of what the KRG X-Ray comes with by itself without any attachments. The KRG X-Ray, when it comes to you, comes just like this if you don't plan on making any kind of extra modifications to it. So you've got a sling stud mount here. So you can add, if you're transferring your bipods from, let's say, that Tikka CTR mount and you don't have the ability to go Picatinny yet, it comes with the typical sling stud mount here so that you can go just bolt it on and gas on with it. Depending on how long it takes you and depending on what your needs are for long range shooting, you can always add on to this system because of its modularity. And there's a bunch of accessories that they have on their site that fit many of applications of needs. So Okay, the next thing that I wanted to talk about was the rifle scope. I know I barely touched on the rifle scope in my very first video of this vlog series, but what I want to go into is a little more for those that are just getting into long range shooting again, that's wondering, hey, why I chose this optic over any other optic out there. And honestly, this was the only thing that was available at the moment. I've got a lot of projects in line. There's a lot of things that I want to do in terms of content, and I didn't have time to be waiting around with the scope. So Kaylin had this laying around. I looked it up. I saw the price point was pretty decent. And you know, you get guys out there that say, well, once you buy the rifle, you should invest in an optic at least 3 times as much as your rifle, which I agree to some extent, but I realize that some people don't have that coin to be thrown around, especially if this is just a hobby to them. I don't expect you to drop $3,500 for a piece of glass, okay, if that is completely out of your reach. So I decided to go with this optic. It's the Night Force SHV 4-14 by 50, and it's got it's in first focal plane, and it's got the mil-R reticle inside. All right, so real quick, what first focal plane means, and this is for the newer shooter that is probably watching this. First focal plane means as I adjust the magnification, I can use the reticle as a tape measure throughout the whole magnification range. On a second focal plane scope, you can't do that. Right? You have to figure out what your setting is in order to read the reticle for what it is, and I'll just leave it at that. So far with this rifle scope, a couple things that I do like is the reticles, pretty decent for an entry-level shooter. It's got your main crosshairs, and the turret elevation is 5 mil rotations, and it's got witness lines, and what that means is for every full rotation on this scope, as I dial it up, hopefully you guys can see that, when I make a full revolution, it goes back to 0, but that tells me that I'm 5 mils up, because now I've got witness lines that tell me, hey, you're 1 revolution. In the case that I need to move to, let's say, 700 yards, and my firing solution for 700 yards is 5.8, I'm guessing, I don't know what it is. I would have to go to 0, back to, then go 8 over, so it looks like I'm just at 8, but really I'm at 5.8. It's super important to keep that in mind when you are messing with your rifle scope. This has got a 0 stop feature, so that as I back this all the way down, I can go to 0, it bottoms out, and I've actually got 1/10 of under travel underneath my 0. In the case that I see this happen all the time, you're at the range, shooting with your buddies, you decide to use 7 to 8 rounds of your remaining rounds to shoot the farthest plate. Let's say it's 1,000 yards. Boom, you shoot it, you high five, and it's because you're getting ready for hunting season, but your dope to shoot that was 10.2 mils. Well, at 10.2, I'm at 2 revs up, and it looks like 2/10. So you pack your rifle up, and you're distracted, and then you go straight out to hunting. And next thing you know, your dope for a 300-yard target calls for 1.1. Well, because you forgot the 0 and you look at, oh, that's my 0, you just go 2 under, but really you're 10 mils over, and you dial on whatever mils, for your dope for your target, and then you skyrocket over the top. I've seen it happen with several shooters, a lot of shooters, whether you're a hunter. I've seen it even with top-level professional competitive shooters, okay? So one of the post-fire checks that I always recommend is to always back down to 0, to your 0 stop, if you have one, okay, to make sure that you don't ever have that issue. The next thing that I always recommend for your rifle scope, before any other than your rings, obviously, is having an anti-cant device. This is a flatline ops anti-cant device that articulates over, which is super nice. So if I don't want it in the way, I can just fold it over. But if I want it out, I'll just fold it over just like that, okay? And I like the fact that they're super sensitive, but again, having a level anti-cant or a scope level on your rifle scope is imperative. Last thing is I went with a muzzle brake. Again, I shot this without the muzzle brake. Recoil is just fine, all right, with proper fundamentals of marksmanship, good load in the bipods. The rifle recoil is just fine, but again, because I'm planning to take this rifle to more of the competitive space and tactical space, I wanted to have a little bit less recoil, right? So I threw an area 419 Hellfire 3-port muzzle brake on there. I really love their timing system, and I'm a big fan of the Area 419 products. So that's pretty much the rifle in its newest configuration in a nutshell. I think the only thing that I have yet to talk about is the trigger inside. And I've installed, and I did this on an Instagram video maybe 3 or 4 days ago, but I installed the Yo Dave trigger. The Yo Dave trigger is like 10 bucks, but this trigger right now is set to about 1.5 pounds. Once you adjust it from the factory setting, I think the lowest you can get it to is about 2. And now with this Yo Dave, I can get it less than 1 pound, but I personally don't like that. I actually think that a heavier trigger helps me be a little bit more disciplined in terms of making sure that my position is solid before I set that trigger off. So this is set to about 1.5 pounds right now, but it's super easy to swap out that trigger. You can just YouTube a video, and there's a bunch of videos that pop up on that. Okay, and that's the rifle pretty much in a nutshell. Okay, so what's next? So I've already shot this rifle a few times, as is. It groups really well. I'm getting, still about a half minute, sub half minute, even with the new configuration. One thing I do recommend is investing in a set of torque wrenches, so that when you install this barreled action inside the chassis, you have torque settings to these front and rear action screws. Initially, I go with 65 inch-pounds on my Remington 700 clone actions, but actually this Tikka liked the 45 inch-pound torque settings. When I did at 65, I had about a 1.5 minute groups. And that's one thing that KRG recommends, is that you find your torque settings that works for your barreled action. All right, so the 45 inch-pounds work for this barreled action specifically. That gave me the tightest groups. But what's next is I'm gonna go shoot a one-day local match here in Washington with it and just see how it does. Okay guys, if you guys made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. Hopefully, it's not really a vlog, I guess, more of me just kind of standing here. I do like my other versions of me, talking. I feel like it was a little bit more natural, and this was a little rough for me, and multiple takes and whatnot. So hopefully you guys still enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys got good value out of it. But if you guys like this video, please share it, especially if you're new to this page or new to long range shooting. Share it with a buddy. Maybe bring a partner with you to get into long range shooting. If you guys aren't already following me on Instagram, go ahead and follow me at Vallejo_0317. I'm sure I've already put up a bunch of little flyers on the bottom for you to follow. And yeah, subscribe to my channel. I'm new to YouTube, and I'm looking to build and grow this. So thanks for everyone that's already followed me this far on Instagram and whatnot. And I appreciate everyone's support on this project, and I appreciate everyone's kind words thus far for this build. So, okay guys, you guys know the drill. Keep it facing the gun. Until next time.
Yeah.
3 targets.
All right.
3 targets all over the place. I guess I just gotta remember not to F this up.
Who's got time?
2 minutes, 30 seconds. I got it.
This is why I love the X-Ray right here. This little thumb hole. All right, I'm ready.
All right.
Give it to me straight.
Let me get on that bobcat.
People are like.